So prior to seeing this movie, the director, Lee Isaac Chung, commented on why global warming was not mentioned in the film. He said, quote, "I wanted to make sure that we are never creating a feeling that we're preaching a message, because that is certainly not what I think cinema should be about." And just like that, dude got me interested in seeing pretty much any movie that he may put out in the future. It's refreshing to see a director once again understand what audiences want to see, and realize that it's not the time or the place for a message like that. People go to see an event film like Twisters, not to hear a lecture, but for escapism. This guy gets it. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Come on. Do it. Do it!
Haunted by a devastating encounter with a tornado, Kate Cooper gets lured back to the open plains by her friend Javi to test a groundbreaking new tornado tracking system. She soon crosses paths with Tyler Owens, a charming social media superstar who thrives on posting storm-chasing adventures. Okay, so right off the bat, the original Twister from 1996 is a movie that is very near and dear to my heart. I consider it one of my comfort movies. Every time I see it on, I just have to stop and watch it. To me, it's one of those quintessential blockbusters that I had growing up that made me fall in love with the theater experience to begin with. Twisters is being billed as a way too late sequel to that film, and a lot of people might be asking, what's the point?
But why?
Well, now having seen it, I would say that Twisters is much more of a reboot than it is a sequel. And normally that would be something that would annoy me, but this time around, it feels like they did it mostly the right way. For those of you going into this expecting a nostalgia trip with a lot of fan service and callbacks to the original film, you might be interested or disappointed to hear that there's not a lot of that going on in this film. The only real connection to the original film is the use of the Dorothy machine, and even that is brief. They could have very easily taken the easy way out and went the whole legacy sequel route, but instead they allowed this story and these characters to stand on their own just a little bit.
I don't believe it!
While watching Twisters, you kind of immediately get the feeling of escalation. The original film was about gathering data and hopefully improving response time and saving lives. This film, as ridiculous as it might sound, is about neutralizing tornadoes, taming them before they do too much damage. Now, I doubt very much that this movie will get a scientific accuracy award at the end of the year. In fact, I'm sure Neil deGrasse Tyson is probably sitting somewhere right now, pissed off beyond belief. But if you can suspend your disbelief just a little bit, I think you will be in for an entertaining ride. The man versus nature element that drove the first film is intact here. Now, I don't think that the tornadoes themselves are as visually impressive as they were back in 1996, but that's to be expected. But they are doing certain things throughout the film that are very much intended to up the ante, like having a tornado suck up a bunch of fire so it turns into this swirling vortex of hell.
We're gonna die!
I thought the most thrilling use of a tornado in this film involved a movie theater, actually. The way the situation is staged in the film made it look like people were literally being sucked into the movie screen. I just thought it was simple and yet somehow creative, the way that it enhances the whole moment because you're actually watching it in a movie theater yourself. The big appeal of the original film was the main group of characters. They naturally worked well together, and by the end of the film, you do feel like you're part of the crew. And I do think that is the one major thing that Twisters is missing, the camaraderie. They do try to do their own thing with this new group, but to me, the dynamic just wasn't the same. It's not to say that these characters are bad, it's just overall, by comparison, they're not as memorable.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
I have to say, there's a lot of hype around Glenn Powell right now, with a lot of people crowning him already the next big thing. Of course, Tom Cruise taking him under his wing did help a lot with that. But I do feel like Powell has a certain movie star quality to him that a lot of younger actors are missing. He was definitely my favorite part character-wise about this movie. And they could have very easily made him this one-dimensional, selfish, do-it-all-for-the-clicks influencer type character. But there's another layer to him that I didn't expect and that I enjoyed, and honestly it made him a lot more relatable. The lead of the film is Daisy Edgar Jones, and if I'm being honest, her character was probably the biggest cliche in the film. The whole I survived a tragedy and I gotta get myself back out there story arc has been done a million times before.
Not impressed.
In fact, I would say this is the closest thing we have to a rehashing of a character from the original Twister. I think there are parallels to be drawn with her character and Helen Hunt's character. That being said, by the end of the film, I kind of forgot all about that. And through the power of cinema, I did find myself getting invested in her journey, to an extent. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times before. Cliches can still work if they are used in the right way. There was one moment in the film where I thought they were going to go full Top Gun Maverick on us, and bring back a character from the first movie to make a more direct connection to this one. But much to my surprise, even though the setup was there, they didn't pull the trigger on it. Initially, I felt kind of disappointed by it, but after thinking about it, it probably would have been a bit too on the nose. So kudos to them, I guess, for showing restraint in that moment. This movie was also more of a love story than I was expecting. Now, there was a love story in the first film as well, about an estranged husband and wife who rebond over their love of almost getting killed by tornadoes on a daily basis. And in Twisters, it's a little bit of a similar vibe, only this time, it's more of a opposites attract thing, and it's only once they take their guards down that they realize that they aren't so different. Again, a little bit cliche, but I did find myself buying into that relationship. The other part of this movie that I thought was handled well was finding that balance between showing the spectacle and thrill of hunting tornadoes, but also showing us how this very real phenomenon impacts people on a day-to-day basis by taking everything away from them in almost an instant. I felt like there was actually a greater emphasis on that this time around. The characters were much more involved in a boots-on-the-ground way when it came to helping people affected by tornadoes. On the flip side of that, the film also shows the ugly side to this, with some people benefiting from these tragedies. It's the little things like that that add a personal touch to a summer blockbuster.
I like it a lot.
Overall, Twisters is pretty much everything you would expect it to be. It's a throwback to the summer blockbusters of old that I think will be a crowd pleaser to those who give it a chance. Is it perfect? No. Are there completely ridiculous moments that don't make sense logically or scientifically? Absolutely. But if you are going into it looking for that, you are probably watching the wrong movie. It's escapism through and through. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's an entertaining spectacle that is more than deserving of being seen on the biggest screen possible. I was genuinely surprised at how much I enjoyed myself while watching this film. It could have very easily taken the easy way out, but I think it did enough to justify its own existence and make me personally want to revisit it again in the future. That's why I'm going to give Twisters the pleased Palpatine.
Good. Y'all be cool. Right on.